May the peace of the Lord be with you all. Today's Gospel Reflection, August 1st, 2025, Friday. The Lord said to Moses, "These are the festivals of the Lord which you shall celebrate at their proper time with a sacred assembly. The Passover of the Lord falls on the 14th day of the first month, at the evening twilight. The 15th day of this month is the Lord's feast of unleavened bread. For 7 days you shall eat unleavened bread. On the first of these days you shall hold a sacred assembly, and do no sort of work. On each of the 7 days you shall offer an oblation to the Lord. Then on the 7th day you shall again hold a sacred assembly, and do no sort of work." The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the children of Israel and tell them, when you come into the land which I am giving you, and reap your harvest, you shall bring a sheaf of the first fruits of your harvest to the priest, who shall wave the sheaf before the Lord, that it may be acceptable for you. On the day after the Sabbath the priest shall do this, beginning with the day after the Sabbath, the day on which you bring the wave offering sheaf. You shall count 7 full weeks, and then on the day after the 7th week, the 50th day, you shall present a new cereal offering to the Lord. The 10th of this 7th month is the Day of Atonement, when you shall hold a sacred assembly and mortify yourselves, and offer an oblation to the Lord. The 15th day of this 7th month is the Lord's Feast of Booths, which shall continue for 7 days. On the first day there shall be a sacred assembly, and you shall do no sort of work. For 7 days you shall offer an oblation to the Lord. And on the 8th day you shall again hold a sacred assembly, and offer an oblation to the Lord. On that solemn closing you shall do no sort of work. These, therefore, are the festivals of the Lord, on which you shall proclaim a sacred assembly, and offer as an oblation to the Lord burnt offerings and cereal offerings, sacrifices and libations, as prescribed for each day."
Responsorial Psalm. Sing with joy to God our help. Take up a melody and sound the timbrel, the pleasant harp and the lyre. Blow the trumpet at the new moon, at the full moon, on our solemn feast. Sing with joy to God our help, for it is a statute in Israel, an ordinance of the God of Jacob, who made it a decree for Joseph, when he came forth from the land of Egypt. Sing with joy to God our help. There shall be no strange god among you, nor shall you worship any alien god. I, the Lord, am your God, who led you forth from the land of Egypt. Sing with joy to God our help.
The Holy Gospel according to Matthew. Jesus came to his native place and taught the people in their synagogue. They were astonished and said, "Where did this man get such wisdom and mighty deeds? Is he not the carpenter's son? Is not his mother named Mary? And his brothers James, Joseph, Simon, and Judas? Are not his sisters all with us? Where did this man get all this?" And they took offense at him. But Jesus said to them, "A prophet is not without honor except in his native place, and in his own house." And he did not work many mighty deeds there, because of their lack of faith. The Gospel of the Lord. Rejection is a painful experience, especially when it comes from people who know us well. We expect criticism from strangers, but when it comes from our family, friends, or those in our hometown, it cuts deeper. This was the kind of rejection Jesus experienced when he returned to his hometown to teach and serve. The people who had watched him grow up, who probably knew his family by name, could not accept that someone so familiar to them could be so extraordinary. They questioned his wisdom. They doubted his authority. They could not reconcile the carpenter's son they knew with the teacher who spoke with power. Instead of celebrating his growth and listening to his message, they dismissed him with suspicion and contempt. Their unbelief created a barrier, not because Jesus was less powerful, but because they were unwilling to receive what he had to offer. And what did Jesus do in response? He did not retaliate. He did not argue or force them to believe. He simply acknowledged their rejection and moved on with grace. He continued his mission elsewhere, healing and teaching those who were open to receiving him. There's no trace of bitterness or resentment, and how he handled their unbelief. Only a quiet understanding of how human hearts can sometimes resist the very truth they need. This response is a powerful example for anyone who has ever felt underestimated, doubted, or rejected by their own circle. Maybe you've tried to step out in faith, to lead a ministry, start a new career, raise your voice in truth, only to be met with cynicism from people who knew you back when. Maybe your efforts to grow are seen as prideful or pretentious by those who remember your past mistakes or see only your old identity. It's in moments like these that we must learn from the strength and calmness of Jesus. He didn't stop being who he was just because others couldn't see it. He didn't scale back his purpose to fit into their limited expectations. Instead, he stayed faithful to his calling, even when it wasn't celebrated in the places closest to his heart. We often think that our impact must begin with those who know us best, but that's not always the case. Sometimes, our greatest work happens when we move beyond the places of comfort and familiarity. Sometimes, God allows the sting of rejection to redirect us toward those who are ready to receive what we bring. This does not mean we give up on people, but it does mean we learn to stop seeking validation where it cannot be found. It means trusting that God sees what others overlook and continuing to walk in purpose. Even when applause is absent, rejection from people is not a rejection from God. In fact, rejection may be the very thing that pushes us into greater obedience and deeper trust. Jesus knew who he was, and no lack of recognition could shake that. He shows us that our identity and mission are not dependent on people's approval. We can be bold in our calling, even if our journey includes seasons of loneliness or misunderstanding. So if you find yourself in a season where your efforts are being dismissed or misunderstood, do not be discouraged but take heart. You're in good company. Let it be a reminder that what truly matters is not how many believe in you, but how firmly you believe in the one who called you. Keep going, stay faithful, keep sowing, keep loving, keep serving. The rejection of your hometown doesn't define your worth. What defines you is the steady, quiet confidence of a heart that knows it is sent. Let the pain of dismissal fuel your devotion, not to prove yourself to others, but to stay true to the God who have chosen you and who will never overlook you.